Hi everyone, it's me again. I am making another video regarding the flexible sub-assemblies, flexible components not working in inventor. In my previous video I was presenting how 3 different ways of constraining flexible assembly or elements in a flexible assembly led to the bad results in the process of solving the top level assembly when there were constraints applied to the flexible component. It didn't work, and then I presented how the situation looks like when all elements are on the top level, so the assembly is flat, and then it is working fine. In the meantime, I was wondering and thinking and got some ideas how to show other things to narrow the area where the bug is to be looked for. So I will now present you 2 different insertions of flexible assembly, and I will build one flexible assembly for in this video to show you how the constraint solver is coping with different kinds of constraints defined in the flexible component that you want to insert. Since the constraint subassembly worked best, I started with that. Now I will place the constraint subassembly, this pre-assembled bolt, as before, to get the same error as I did before, so it is recreatable. I will then constrain the bolt axis with I will now make it flexible. I will now constrain the bolt axis with the axis of the hole, and I will now try to constrain this washer surface to the surface of the wall. As you see, I am getting preview of the properly solved assembly. I am not hearing this plum sound which shows that the constraint is okay. I click OK. I get an error, but okay, that the assembly cannot be solved. This is ridiculous because the assembly can be solved. It is solved. It is solved. Why do you say it cannot be once you solved it? So you have the problem with the validation of your solution that you do not accept, but it is good. But okay, I accept. Now we have this design doctor saying that flash 4 is inconsistent relationship. We do not know what it is inconsistent with, and I was curious if it is possible to find out what inventor says that flash 4 inconsistent relationship is inconsistent with. So to do that, we need to evaluate the subassembly, because the flash 4 is defined in the subassembly. Okay, so inventor indicates this constraint as conflicting, inconsistent with other constraints, but in this top level assembly we only have constraint of the direction of the bolt axis with the hole, and the flash constraint between the wall and the hole. The hole is perpendicular to the side, so it is okay. There is nothing that should make the flash 4 constraint inconsistent with anything. Okay, so to find what it is, I will open the subassembly. Now we can see still the design doctor says that flash 4 is inconsistent with something. We do not know with what, but it is. If now I will navigate to the flash 4 is indicated as inconsistent. If we go here and we go to diagnose, we have to choose what to deselect to find what is conflicting. I deselected mate 3 that has nothing to do with flash 4, and it is okay. I have deselected mate 2, and I can go through the list and deselecting anything, and after deselecting any of the constraints that has nothing to do, that is not conflicting, the assembly is solved properly. This assembly is properly constructed now. It is not violating its constraints. It is not violating any of the constraints defined in the top level. Only that is the problem, that the inventor thinks that one of the constraints of the assembly is violating something. There is a bug, and this bug produces the bad solution for evaluation of constraints applied and their relationship with other constraints on the top level. So basically, to resolve the problem, okay, if this flash 4 constraint was in fact conflicting with anything, then the solution, the geometrical solution of the assembly, after reapplying this constraint or fixing it, should be different. There are different ways to solve that. You can first enter here, take edit, do nothing, apply, and you see the assembly is exactly as it was the second ago, and now flash 4 is not conflicting. So the second ago we got opposite solution from the design doctor that says flash 4 is bad, flash 4 is conflicting, flash 4 is making a problem. Now the flash 4 is here, it is exactly the same as it was, position of the assembly is exactly as it was, and flash 4 is now okay. So there is a bug. Program should not give you two totally different solutions for the same situation, and this one is giving totally different solutions for the same situation. We have exactly the same layout, exactly the same constraints, exactly the same position of all the parts, exactly the same constraints on all levels, and the second ago we got that is bad, and now we are getting a solution that it is okay. This should not happen. There is a bug that allows this. Now I will get rid of that, and I will now show you how the flexible assembly can be made so inventor can place it properly. I have made an attempt first, but I will now make it just on the video to show you how it is done. So I will make a copy V02, and now what I want is I want to constrain all parts not to each other. I do not want any constraint to be defined between the parts. I want all the constraints to be defined in relation to the assembly itself. So I will now delete all the relationships, and I will now start constraining the assembly. So I will constrain that to the to that, only the other way. I will constrain that to that. Sorry. This one to this one, and lastly this one to this one. So this is now fixed. Now the bolt. This to this, only the other way, and 1.5. Apply, and last apply. So the bolt is now fixed. Now the other washer. So first I will do that like that. So sorry, I had to take up the phone. So where were we? Okay, the washer is now constrained, so we need a nut to be constrained. Basically, the nut is a problem because the nut should follow the washer. So I need some kind of constraint between the nut and the washer, but I don't want that. What I can do first is I can constrain the axis of the nut with the axis of the subassembly. Okay, I have the nut constrained along. Now, the degrees of freedom of the nut are so it can still rotate like that and it will be okay. Oh, sorry. So I need to constrain one of the surfaces of the nut with the, let's say I will apply an angle constraint of this to that. Let's say 0 degrees, so fixed in the same direction. So the nut will not rotate now. So if I try to rotate the nut now, it will be brought back to the position it was. It cannot flip, but I need to constrain the nut with the washer. I don't want it. What I came up with, I will take the work plane. I will just make it whatever. Now what I will do, I will delete this constraint, and I have a plane that is free. I will constrain the plane that is really not the part with the washer under the nut. Okay, and I will now constrain the plane with the nut 1.5 minus. So now I have a flexible assembly with no constraints between parts except the work plane that really is not a part. So I will save that. If we examine the degree of freedom, we shall see that we only have movement and rotation of the nut. Okay, so everything is fine. I saved that. And now I will place this flexible subassembly here. This was V02. I will make it flexible and I will try to constrain it to my... So first I will constrain the x-axis of the subassembly to the axis of the hole. So far so good, it worked as well before. Now I want to constrain this to that, like before. Only this time I will not use the washer surface, I will use the surface, the origin plane of the subassembly. And as you can see, we have a proper solution without any error from the constraint solver, without any error from the design doctor. So generally, this time, where is it? So generally, the constraint solver is not making any problems with the subassembly that is flexible. So there is a problem with validating the internal constraints of the subassembly when they need to be used, validated when the assembly is constrained on the top level. So I will now save the data center and I will include it in my next post so you can download it for you to try.